It's an honor for me to open the public discussion, Land Market in Ukraine, Condition, Efficiency, Transparency. I'm Sergei Kubach, Land Reform Team Lead of USAID Agro, supported by USAID. Land reform is one of major reforms in Ukraine, and land market is cornerstone part of the entire reform package. Today we are going to discuss the current status of the land market, the benefits the stakeholders will gain after the reform implementation. We will have many speakers today. After the presentations, we will have a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask questions, or it's also possible to ask questions on our YouTube channel. And we'll hope we will have enough time to answer all the questions. Let me also remind you, colleagues, that in case of an air raid alert, we are supposed to move to shelter, and the meeting will continue. And those who are watching us online also should adhere to security measures and go to shelter. So, colleagues, let's start. The meeting will start with opening remarks, then we'll continue with panel discussions, followed by Q&A sessions. I'll present the current status of Ukraine's land market together with colleagues. So let me invite to give opening remarks James Hope, USAID Mission Director in Ukraine. Mr. Hope, please.
Доброго ранку. Доброго дня. Great to see everyone. Thanks for coming to this really important event. First, I want to greet my friend and colleague, Minister Solsky, from the Ministry of Agriculture. We've done a lot of work together over the last few years, and it's great to be able to focus today on our work together on land reform and why it's important and where it's going. I also want to greet members of Parliament and the chair of the Agrarian Committee, members of civil society, Kyiv School Economics, everyone here to join us. You know, I remember back in July 2021 when the land market sort of formally opened. That was the culmination of almost 20 years of work to get to this point, important point in Ukraine's economic development, the moment in time when private land ownership became formally part of the economy of society with the moratorium on purchase after 30 years being lifted. That was a milestone moment, and we're going to spend a lot of time today revisiting that and talking about what's happened and where things are going to go on land reform, and most importantly, why land reform is essential, not just today, but for the future, as for Ukraine's future economic prosperity going down the road. This is one of the challenges here in Ukraine. There's a war going on. There's victory to be had, but at the same time, there's a lot of work about building the future, and land reform is one of the pillars of that future. For USAID and for the U.S. Embassy, support for the agricultural sector and land reform and everything around that will continue to be a very important priority. We have great colleagues, great partners here, but also the farmers and the farming families and the agribusinesses themselves who are the backbone of the economy. So we stand together to continue to drive forward land reform, agricultural development for the domestic market and for the export market, because as we all know, it's Ukraine's agriculture that is feeding millions of people around the world each and every day, and we see that. And we learned a lot about that at the Food Summit last weekend. So thank you for the chance to join the team here. Look forward to the discussion, and I'll turn it back over to our moderator. Дуже дякую. Thanks.
Thank you. Please stay. Я запрошую. Excuse me?
I would like to invite Minister of Agrarian Policy and Food, Mr. Mykola Solsky, and I would like you to have a floor together.
Можемо задати. Добре.
Hello, everybody. I would like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank Sergei and all the team, because we're cooperating very closely with USAID, thanks to James. Of course, we have lots of work to do, starting from the land reform to the big support with grain experts and many other things that we can discuss. Lots of time, yeah, and we are very thankful to you. Thank you to all colleagues. Thanks to all members of the Agrarian Committee. Concerning the land reform, I think the main feature of the land reform is that it's been in progress for several years, but it's not being very public now. It means that it was established in a format which is very good, very successful format. It's a very transparent reform. Everything that happens with the land market can be seen in all registers every day. I don't know about any complaints about those registers, even the smallest complaints. From the very beginning, we managed to eliminate any corruption risks from this reform, because our lawmakers did a good thing, because they rejected many unjust requirements that could lead to corruption, but successfully it hadn't been the case. We believed from the very beginning that the market is more clever than all of us, and the market will regulate everything. So this is what happens. I think that most of you didn't notice that we had several changes, legislative changes to the land reform. They were aimed at simplification of procedures, and I think that the land reform should be facilitated, should be more dynamic. It shouldn't be postponed. We think that it's an achievement when we do the land reform, but all the world doesn't think so, because it's already the case in all the world, because we are starting from the very scratch. We need to move on. We need to implement it to catch up with the whole world. So any attempts to postpone the land reform, they should be rejected, because we should move faster, because in the world of business there are no sentiments. We should be aware of the fact that investments in Ukraine can be attracted not through sentiments, not through our bravery or our victory, because business does not operate these categories. We need to implement a transparent and interesting legislation and good environment for business. So we should increase the pace of this reform, not to slow it down, but to increase it. If we see at our neighbor countries in the recent weeks, we see that the world is governed by the business interests, and we should understand this, and we should strive for investments, and we should start striving for investments today without stopping for a single day. Before the new year, we made a lot of analysis about the land market, and it was a very easy analysis for us. If we want, we may do it even every day, tracing the things that are changing in the land market. And we've confirmed several things. The participants of land reforms already knew these things from the very start of the reform, including USAID. And that's why we managed to build a good model. First thing, there is not a lot of land for sale in the market. People are not quite willing to sell the land. We had a look at our neighboring countries and asked them what's the average amount of land purchase per year, and they answered up to 1%, because people are not willing to sell their land. And in other countries the trend is the same. An average farmer is not willing to sell his land. So when the farmer wakes up, he doesn't think, well, maybe it's a good day today for selling land. No, this is not the case. Land sale agreements happen only in rare cases, on some specific occasions. That's why land is a synonym of hope for people in the countryside. This is the hope for the best future. That's why they are unwilling to sell it. Statistics say that 0.3% of Ukrainian land is circulating in the market, despite the war. And this ratio hasn't changed since the previous year. Last year we opened the registers despite the war, and that was a correct decision. That's why I'm quite okay with the land market during the wartime. And also other things that we forecasted have now proved to be true, because market land is restricting the agrarian business. Because if we speak about horticulture, then during the wartime we have 5 times more new gardens established than before the war. That's why I think all our decisions were correct. And thank you very much. And the minister suggested several questions, but my suggestion is that I will give the presentation now, and after my presentation we will do a small Q&A session. Now I'll be introducing the team of research people who are dealing with market land assessment during half a year. They are from the Kyiv School of Economy. Part of them are working in the state cadastre, part of them are working in the agrarian policy ministry, and their research formed the basis for the market model that we are trying to introduce. And first of all, it's grounded on the economic incentives. I'd like to say that our market was certainly impacted by the war. Of course, war had a negative impact upon agriculture. During the first year of war, we suffered about 9 billion of direct losses. If we speak about non-direct losses, it will be more than $40 billion. And of course, it has a negative impact on the market. But our understanding is quite clear that market is the key now for the recovery of the country, because losses suffered by the agrarian sector require lots of financing, lots of capital, and the market that is being formed now in the framework of the land reform can give this funding and financing, and I will show you how it can happen. Everything is based on the calculations, and we started the calculations in 2015 when we did the monitoring of land relations with the support of the World Bank, and the Cabinet of Ministers made a decree about the monitoring of land issues, and this monitoring will start next year. We'll touch upon this a bit later today. So USAID Agro, to continue this initiative, suggested the Invincible Land program. This is where we're tracing the instruments and the models of land market development. The land market model was a consensus. The idea is that citizens, communities, and the agrarian business will benefit from it. I would like to emphasize that we should keep to the Convention on the Human Rights, which and the moratorium needs to be cancelled according to this convention. The second thing is the EU requirements to the free flow of capital, goods, and services, and these two milestones, and also the needs of the of people and the need of the community. We're introducing the new model. We have started the market for physical persons up to 100 hectares. This supports the rights of ordinary citizens. And our monitoring shows that we do have a positive trend in this. And the second part of this reform will be the market for the legal entities. And this stage will start on the 1st of January next year. I'd like to emphasize that the market has been opened 880 days ago, but 646 days were the days of war. This means that this market model was tested for strength by the war. We can estimate now whether there is a big demand for land purchase, whether it can be a basis for the capital of agrarian business. We have a much regulated market model, but even in the complex time of war, the trend is positive. The basis for this model, the basis for the market, is the national legislative base. Now on the screen you can see 8 laws that form the legislative base for the land market in Ukraine. Today, we can say for sure that Ukraine does have a national market land relations legislative base, which is basically compliant to all European Union requirements. Several weeks ago, we discussed this during our panel talks. Of course, there are things to be adjusted, but on the whole, the legislative base is there, and it's a good mechanism for the market regulation. If concerning about the conclusions of our previous activities, first of all, the market, the land is kept in the farming and agrarian sector. Nobody is trying to resell or repurpose the land, and tenants of the land remain the same. And the market has become a part of the economy. We see that communities get from 10 to 12% of the total budget of the community due to land market. It means that each community is hoping that the land market will continue to exist and will grow. Second thing, in Ukraine we do have a market of lease through auctions. We have a Prozoro sales tendering system, and communities can get up to 355 million of income through this system. In this year, the average weighted price of land has increased by 15%, which gives 3 additional billion market capitalization. It means that owners of the land plots have become richer. They got additional $3 billion, and this is useful capital. Unfortunately, this capital is now not used in the banking sphere because banks are reluctant to use with physical persons because it's not the market with big investments. But the market where the legal persons will participate will open the opportunity for using this capital. So this year it could be $3 billion that could be reinvested from other sectors to the agrarian economy. This could be the loans for small and mid-sized farmers who have problems with pledge for their loans. First of all, I'd like to note that for the market and for the land reform, it's important that the amount of lands in the cadastre is going up. Most of private lands are registered now in the land cadastre, and I'd like to thank the land cadastre people who are doing good work. For during this time, there were 180,000 agreements covering the area of about 4,000 hectares. And as Minister already mentioned, there is no massive buyout of lands, and because farmers keep their land, they are reluctant to sell it, and the price of this land goes up. The effect here is not zero, the trend is positive. The price per hectare has now reached 36,000 hryvnias, which is much more than the estimated standard price, and only about 1% of land is in the market calculation. So there is no threat for massive buyout of land. Moreover, the land market has become part of the economy. If we look at the mechanisms of buying and selling lands, We had a problem when the register and the cadastre was unavailable in February and in March. Then the cadastre was resumed, and the market is recovering now. Now the purchase and sales agreements are stable for more than half a year. The monthly and quarterly amount of land in the market is more or less the same, about 15,000 hectares, and this pace is stable now. It means that the market is recovering from the wartime. The amount of the dynamics of the new agreements is quite stable. There are no peaks. As already mentioned, about one part of land participates in the market. The most active market is in the Kharkiv region. How strange it may seem, in Poltava and in Chernigov region. Of course, areas impacted by the war are not so active in terms of land trading, and it generally reflects the business climate in these regions. The prices for land differ depending on the geography. As you can see on the map, Kiev region and other regions, of course, they are close to the front line, but nevertheless the market sales here is quite active, and mostly commercial lands are in the circulation now, and farmers' land is also in the market. It also has active sales, and this process shows us that the price for the commercial land will go up in the future. The research shows that there is no repurposing. There is no massive repurposing of land. It's only about 0.5% of land with a changed category of use. It's mostly the land around big cities, big populated areas. But massively the land remains in the agricultural circulation. The next slide is very important. And here you can see the sources of funding for the small and medium agrarians. This increase in the land price from 33 to 39,000 hryvnias per hectare, it gives an increase of 200 billion hryvnias. And it also means that the amount of potential pledge also has increased by 200 billion. It means that now this can be used for pledging 70 billion hryvnias of loans. And this process can start when the legal entities enter the market, and this is a good chance. A new stage may start when the legal entities start to purchase land. Current loans to business is about 120 billion hryvnias, and additional funds are quite significant in this case. Additional funds can be used for investing, for offering loans for small and medium farms. On this slide, you can see the opportunities. Yes, the agrarian sector lost 9 billion, but this 200 billion hryvnias that we just mentioned can partially compensate these losses suffered due to the war. So it means that the land market will help renovation because it will offer more loans to farmers who could cover their direct and indirect losses. So the second stage will help to increase the liquidity and capitalization of market. I'd also like to say about the land auctions. It's a very important part. Each month we see the increasing amount of land in trade. The absolute record is about 5,000 hectares of land, of communal land in the market. And speaking about the price of land lease is about 9.4 thousand hryvnias. It means that these auctions managed to increase the price fourfold. The auctions show that the increase in the price of lease are going up, which means that the land is now underestimated, and the official price are smaller than they should actually be. And I think that the potential here is to increase the price of land threefold. The land market is working today, and the conclusions are quite simple. The market has been functioning for 2 years. It's functioning all right, despite the wartime. Then any myths that were promoted by the opponents, they do not come true. They fail to. They were not realized. And the market has become part of the economy. The market is filling the local budgets of communities. It facilitates the economy. Of course, we do have lots of steps to do about loans, about financing. We need to improve the laws and legislative base. We need to improve the market situation, market environment. And the main thing is that recovery of the country is possible only if the land market is working all right. I would like to thank all the team of researchers who are working with us, Kyiv School of Economy, Ministry of Agrarian Policy, the State Cadastre, all the staff, all the colleagues. Thank you for your attention.
So, colleagues, if you have questions for the minister, you may ask them now. Probably journalists have some questions to ask. Raise your hands, please, if you have questions. Any questions, colleagues? Okay, then we continue, then we'll have a separate Q&A session afterwards. So let me invite our first speakers. Alexander Khaidur, Chairman of the Committee on Agrarian and Land Policy. Denis Bashlyk, Deputy Minister of Agrarian Policy and Fund of Ukraine for Digital Development, Digital Transformations and Digitalization. Oleg Prihodko, Acting Head of the Fund for Partial Credit Guarantee in Agriculture. Roman Nater, Expert in Agricultural and Land Policy, KSE AgriCenter, Kyiv School of Economics, Researcher of the Invisible Land Project. Inna Bernatska, Vice President of the Notary Chamber of Ukraine. Colleagues, you are invited. Let's start our panel discussion. Let's elaborate on our key developments, key successes, to highlight the role of the market. And also, we're going to discuss the market potential and prospects. So, Alexander Gaidu is going to speak first. Alexander has been actively working on the land reform package. He's brave enough to take on this truly historical mission. So what are the prospects for the land legislation development? Dear colleague, the topic is of paramount importance as we are approaching the second phase of the land market opening. Let me thank first Pan James, USAID mission, and USAID Agro team, Ksenia, Sergey, World Bank, US government, and EU missions who support us on our path to recovery and restoration. Our core task is transparency of the land market. The committee was working hard to achieve this. In 2019-2020, we faced some pressure, threats, heated debates. Committee members were brave enough to withstand it, and then finally we approved. In 2020, we had the draft law approved, and in 2021, the first phase of the land reform started. Mykola Tarasovich and Sergei have already mentioned it. As we can see now, there is no mass land buyout. The land in circulation is merely 1%. Individuals started buying lands up to 100 hectares. This is a limit to what they can buy. It adds a lot to their prosperity and well-being. And we are in January 2021, we are awaiting the next phase of the reform when legal entities will be allowed to buy agricultural land. It will encourage additional investment in agriculture. Agribusinesses will be able to use land as collateral, as it happens now in all democratic countries. It will add to transparency, clear rules of game, and successful function of the land market. So we do not see any major threats to when the second phase of the reform is launched. So we are making minor improvements to the laws already adopted. For example, we've facilitated the legislation simplifying purchase of small land plots for individual farming. So during the second stage of the reform, we also may face certain concerns, something that we'll closely monitor and track issues that may face, to be able to address them promptly. What we're doing right now, we're adapting Ukrainian legislation to the EU legislation. Thank you, Alexander, for your presentation. Denis Bashlik, Deputy Minister for Digital Development and Digitalization. Denis has been with the market since its launch. Denis was head of the state Cadastre some time ago, so he is an experienced land expert. So the question is, what are the key issues facing by the ministry? What are the major problems seen? What's the biggest threat? And what does the ministry do to mitigate those risks? Thank you for this question. We hear a lot about problems and challenges. Let me remind you that the land market is not only about threats, it's also about opportunities for individuals, both for individuals and businesses. And also there is an opportunity for the synergies with other government initiatives. We would like to say thank you to USAID and other donors for their support to these and other initiatives. If we are talking about the land market as a critical component to Ukraine rebuilding and restoration, we see that it can contribute a lot. The transformational entail a number of transformational changes. For example, it is important for processing. Long-term processing projects cannot be implemented on leased land. So the land, what I'm trying to say, that the land market adds greatly to reconstruction and rebuilding of the agriculture in the entire country. So I remember some article saying what will happen next day after the land market opening. And the conclusion was nothing would change. I believe that it's true, and the same will apply to the second phase of the land market. If we're talking about the main challenges facing Ukraine, I can say that the land market model was correct and efficient. During the first phase of the reform, we streamlined the procedures, the processes that needed to be improved. In 2024, we will have legal entities along with individuals allowed to buy land. But the procedures will already be in place. Land monitoring is underway. However, it also there is some room for improvement to make this tool more modern. More effort and time is needed, and we're already working on this. Another challenge is ensuring transparency of the land market, leaving no chance to shadow land use and corruption. It's our key challenge. But we've already been working on this, so we'll just continue it into the future. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Oleg Prichodko, Acting Head of Fund for Partial Credit Guarantee in Agriculture, is going to speak next. You've seen that the law on the Fund for Partial Credit Guarantee in Agriculture was among the land package laws. It gives opportunities to smallholder to obtain loans covered by the fund. We, as part of the Invincible Land project, explored this topic. So the question to you, when the fund is going to start its operations. Thank you, Sergei, for the opportunity to talk today. Thank you for cooperation and coordination in preparing the review of the land market. The law on the Fund for Partial Credit Guarantee in Agriculture was adopted by the Parliament as an additional tool which will foster, which will increase and improve access of small agricultural producers to credit resources. And it is especially relevant for farmers cultivating up to 500 hectares. Unfortunately, because of the war, the opening of the fund was delayed. By now, together with USAID and World Bank colleagues, we are working hard to expedite it. By the end of this year, we are going to enter into first cooperation agreements to be able to, together with commercial banks, offer loans to agribusinesses offer additional tools for increasing the amount of land owned and used by agribusinesses. The stated capital of the fund is 735 million hryvnias. This is a regulatory requirement. It means that together with the banks, we can give loans for 2.8 billion hryvnias. I'm talking right now about the guarantees that can cover this amount. It means that we can additionally encourage investment for micro and smallholders farming up to 500 hectares. It's extremely important that we can help this category of farmers, since they are the most vulnerable to war risks, and they don't have much opportunities to attract loans without the coverage of the Fund for Partial Credit Guarantee. The research of Kyiv School of Economics, supported by USAID, shows that our target segment before the war was about around 28,000. After the war started, the target pool is 25% less. It's 23,000. But still, it's a big number of farmers. 80% of them are ready to obtain loans. They are interested in buying or leasing extra land. It means that if we combine our efforts with other state support programs, Affordable Loan at 579 program, which already covers 80 to 90% of small and medium businesses, then the fund can help agricultural producers, can facilitate agricultural producers access to financing, regardless of how the money is going to be used, as an investment or as a working capital replenishment. One of the most important tools we're going to focus is land purchase. We, together with bank, are going to offer an opportunity to agricultural producers obtain loans for land purchase. So and taking into account the opening of the second stage of the land market in January 2024, we, as well as the banking sector, are preparing more and more new products that can be interesting for farmers in terms of purchase of agricultural land. We and they hope that after the second stage is launched, the products they're ready to offer will be in demand by smallholders. The guarantees will promote land purchase by agricultural producers. And our joint efforts will increase budget revenues and will increase the value of agricultural land. Promoting the full-fledged market.
I have one proposal. Since we're waiting the guaranteeing fund to open, is there a chance of some cooperation with banks to create some packaged proposals to agrarians or some promotion through mass media to offer farmers and agrarians these tools and these solutions? Because in the first months of the market, it will be something new for them. They need to know what's the process of applying documents, how they can use this document. And of course, you did a good job. It was a great job. We're waiting for new results from you, and I would like you to give more information, to give more promotion, because the informational part is very important now. We'll continue now. There was a question about the categories of small and medium agricultural producers. And the threshold here is 500 hectares, so the small agrarians are covered by the law. They are not forgotten, they got neglected. Now I'd like to ask Inna Bernatska, Vice President of the Notary Chamber of Ukraine. She's been participating in the land market reform from the first days. She's been dealing with the notarial issues. Of course, it's a very complex job, but they did it successfully. I'd like to remind you that we have a very big transactional cost when buying and renting lands, because people have to spend a lot on documents, on legal issues. So what are the ways of improvement? What can be suggested? What could you offer the parliament and the government? Speaking about the procedures of alienation of agricultural lands, it's a big topic. We can talk about it for days. So I'd like to make it brief, to take 10 minutes for my speech. We are thankful for the model that was chosen by the legislator, because this model allowed maintaining the notarial procedures, and it allowed to keep trust of people. What we would like to emphasize is that this soft opening of the land market, step-by-step opening, it allowed keeping the trust of people. People do believe that the market is legitimate, that it's fair, and it also helped to cancel raidership attacks. And this was the project where we participated, and the Ministry of Justice. We are checking the people who want to buy lands on observance of laws, on some criteria. We are building the transparency. For example, the market of buildings is lacking such transparency, but we do have it. And now we are doing communication between the Ministry of Justice cadastre, all notaries to make a big progress. If we I'd also like to emphasize that for people, it was also a new thing, a new system, and they were also learning a lot. They have to take time to study these procedures, to find out how it works. Now we observe that people are more active in inheriting the lands. Previously, this market wasn't very active, but now more and more people are documenting their inherited land plots. Many people turn to us, they consult with us. If we speak about the selling of land, people are usually selling lands if they are lacking money, or if they have some big events or big problems in their family, and that is the reason of selling the land. Otherwise, people are reluctant to sell it. I'd like to emphasize that we had a very complicated starting months because the registers were not available, but we managed to recover the full-fledged work together with the Ministry of Justice. We monitored the notaries, especially on the uncontrolled territories. So actually, in May 2022, we were working more or less normally. If we split it in 4 parts, in the beginning of the 2020, the market will be getting more and more active, but there came the war and the situation was different. Speaking about sales of land, there are 7 reasons for the sales. First of all, it's a social reason, when people do have some social reasons for selling lands. And then economic reasons, and then we see that now land plots for farming are becoming to participate in the market. It's sold, it's purchased. Now we have many companies or organizations that are involved in supporting the deals of land purchasing. And also, we don't have any criminal claims in this area. We don't see any cases of raidership of lands. So the rights of the physical persons were preserved. But of course, our procedures are a bit complicated, and then notaries are doing a very hard because a notarial confirmation of a single agreement can take up to 50 steps. It's a very big work to be done, and we're working with plots up to 100 hectares for now. So the state is defining the stages, the requirements to the land users, and our job, our aim is to protect the right of property for people. We must prevent raidership of land on the territory controlled by the Ukrainian government. Of course, we do have some technical works to do in the registers, but also we need to find time for speaking, for talking to people, for explaining to them. because if we do not explain people, they will not have enough information about how to sell this land, whether it's profitable or not, and he might think in this case that he could be fooled during the sales and purchase transaction. There are registers and full tax base to confirm the revenues of people participating in the transaction. People do bring some confirmations to notaries, but this could be a false document. We cannot check it by now without the registers. If we could see the information about the official income of a physical or legal person through some electronic system, it would be much easier for them. Now we're working with a connection to the state register of material rights. Still, we do have a problem with the end beneficiaries, with the end owners, but we are going to work on this problem. We do need access to demographic register, to some resources like uControl or something like this tool. Why do we need access to demographic register? Because there are many peoples on the occupied territories whose passports were stolen. Many people who are lost. I personally faced with a situation when there was a fake passport with a fake photo, and also there was a fake certificate from the Register of Inheritance. We're working with the communal companies to monitor this information. In this register, we do see that there are many documents that need to be checked and monitored because they are not the proper basis for confirming the right of ownership. Also, I'd like to say that the register of sanctions need to be improved. This register should have a full name, ID, tax code, also UDRPO code, so that we could identify sanctioned persons reliably. If we speak about the second stage of the market, when legal persons will be able to buy land, legal persons here need some protections, because if a legal person buys land, then the price of the value of its corporate rights goes up, and it can be then subject to raiders. We do have a draft law about notary in the Verkhovna Rada, and this draft law does have a requirement to confirmation of a corporate right. And I think in 2024 this clause should be enforced in order to protect the corporate right owners. Then the land auctions. We need to improve the procedures for documenting the auctions results. Concerning the transactional costs, the times for concluding a contract becomes smaller, and the price of documenting such transactions becomes lower. But land is an important thing, and we do need some notary checking in this respect. All participants of the land reform and the ministry and legislators are working with us closely. Their attitude is quite all right to us. Most of my colleagues say that they would like to talk more to people, to promote, to give information, instead of just sitting and doing the technical things in documents. Concerning the beneficiary owners, if we do need to check the beneficiary owners, it will take additional time for our people. But I'd like to say that we managed to do it all right on the first phase of the land market. We prevented raidership, we did things all right, and I hope that during the second stage we will also be successful. If the state supports us, then the notary people will do their job. Thank you very much. I see that there are lots of questions to you, but it will be a bit later. Now I'd like Roman Nater from the Kyiv School of Economics. I'd like him to comment about whether the land market is more active or less active, what's the situation with the land inheritance, what's the land lease market, how it influences the market. Thank you very much. Well, it's a very broad topic for conversation. I will be a bit more precise. Concerning the inheriting of lands. Today we see that much more people are documenting their inherited lands. It's a big amount of land. I would like to say thank you to the cadastre people who are giving us proper information. Due to this information, we can see which land is sold, which land is inherited, and here we can see some drawbacks. We can trace the drawbacks in the efficiency of the market. There are three huge aspects concerning the market efficiency. First of all, the first thing is that the increase of access to loans, and the fund for guaranteeing the loans will be dealing with that. Because small farmers do have problems with high interest rate, but also they have problems with the access to the loans. They lack funds for purchase of agricultural lands. I hope that full-fledged start of the guaranteeing fund will solve this issue. The second potential problem for land market efficiency is more related to the National Bank of Ukraine. The thing is that we had a pledge liquidity coefficient, which is 0.35 now. It means that for 100 hryvnias of the land plot cost, you can attract only 35 hryvnias of credit. This limits the amount of loans to agrarians, and this impacts the investments in the sector. I hope that the market opening for the legal persons will increase the liquidity of the market, and I hope that this ratio can be adjusted by the National Bank of Ukraine. And the third thing about the efficiency of land market deals with the transactional costs. We've already touched upon this, previous speakers. Now the cost per transaction is from 15 to 17,000 hryvnias for people. With the average size of land plot of 2 hectares, the transactional cost is quite huge, and it can be a restricting factor. And we need also to stress that the land market in different regions of our country is also different. If we speak about the commercial land, for example, in Ivano-Frankivsk region, it will be 0.7 hectares. The average size of a land plot in Lviv region will be 1 hectare. And in these two regions, we see the biggest price for the land. But also they have a very small amount of lands in circulation, in the market circulation, almost on the level of occupied territories and territories impacted by war. That's because land plots are not sold due to high transactional costs. Speaking about inherited lands, in Lviv region, the average size of the inherited land plot is half a hectare. The market price of such land plot is 20,000 hryvnias, but the transactional costs will be 16,000 hryvnias. It's very high value. That's why people are reluctant to sell their land plots. And the size of inherited land, average size is 0.5 hectares, but the average size of commercial land plots sold is 1 hectare. So transactional difficulties give us many problems, many losses, especially in these two regions. Thank you very much. We already mentioned that the land lease market is more active than land sale market. That's also due to the transactional costs. Going back to the questions raised by Ina, Denise, could you please comment? Could you please give your comments, at least comments concerning the things that the ministry can influence? The first question about U-Control system. What else can be automated to save time, to reduce costs, and this also impacts the prices in the market and the activity in the market, because automation can give good increase in efficiency of systems. Concerning the figures that you mentioned, 12 or 15,000, I don't know what was your calculation methodology, whether you included all the costs. But I can see that the price for notaries that notaries take for documenting the land transaction is going down bit by bit. I'd like to emphasize that the process of estimating the price of land is very complex. It includes about 11 things to be considered. There is, if we speak about leasing, you should declare your intention. You should send lots of documents, and these documents are sold through the national post, through Ukrposhta, and sometimes these documents are lost, and we do need to involve Ukrposhta to eliminate this issue. Also, I cannot agree that high transactional cost is a big barrier for buying and selling lands. Also, I see there are many intermediaries who participate in these deals, and they also charge their fee. This charge can be included in the total costs. Our agency can suggest several things to be improved, because today people have to wait a lot of time for notarial confirmation of the agreement, and people from the country who come here to sign these agreements, they lack information, and sometimes they say, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Also, we are going to start the financial monitoring and sanctional issues participate here. And the notary here has a lot of things to check, a lot of things to do, and it should be taken into account. But the question is whether there is some automation solution that can be introduced. Today we are already working with a geocadastre for simple monitoring and verification of legal people to save time. You mentioned U-Control system. As far as I know, all notaries must use only official sources, but U-Control is not an official system, it's just an aggregator. You mentioned also several criminal proceedings. I'd also mention some criminal proceedings where a U-Control system participates, where notaries reference to the U-Control system, but the information there is not topical. Any information becomes relevant when it's official, but official information is information that you can find only in the state registers. Concerning the sanctional issues, it's a pity, but it's true that we have to do the manual checking for sanctioned persons. As far as I know, very soon this process will be automated, and we will save a lot of time on searching this or that company. But of course, we do have a certain bottleneck concerning the transactional costs. All notaries today have a similar list of checking for a land sale agreement, but in different regions of Ukraine, the costs for contractual checking can be different. But this it should be improved for further good operation of the land market. Thank you for your comment. I agree with you that all official information should be included in the official registers. But now we don't have this situation, and the systems like U-Control help us to work in the situation where not all the official information is available. What sources you don't have access to? Well, we do need to check in the terrorists list. We don't need to check in the sanctioned persons list. If you do it manually using just papers, it takes lots of time. But U-Control system and some other system does not do any good in this respect. Well, yes. Yes, your proposal is clear. Let's get back to this a bit later. Of course, the next phase of the market will start despite of this problem, but it needs some attention. We can suggest our expert advice. We can do the analysis of data sources and the opportunities that we have. Maybe Alexander will have some thoughts about improvement of legislation. We can discuss it. We can discuss the automation, and Agro will also make its contribution to this person. So let's get back to Alexander.
The question is which draft laws, most draft laws that are expected soon, those that can impact land relations. Those that impact beneficiaries in particular and the economy in general. So what major changes are considered by the committee? You've mentioned when making a presentation the draft laws regulating land relations and land circulation. Right now, the committee is considering a number of draft laws. Some other are going to be developed soon. Draft laws which regulate the change of land purpose are passing the second reading. When many businesses are damaged or destroyed as a result of the war, they need more simpler procedures for land repurposing beyond the boundaries of settlement, to be able to start building facilities, for example, military facilities or facilities that are needed for security purposes. Also, there may be some severe disasters, such as Kakhovka disaster. Therefore, that's extremely important to avoid misuse of data. Also, we're working on some special data draft laws. Several years ago, we had a draft law adopted, communities draft law adopted, but some improvement is needed here because of land contamination and degradation as a result of the war. Soils were damaged and degraded and need to be reclassified. And also some other draft laws at the initial stage regarding harmonization of the national legislation with the EU legislation. We have a couple of questions on YouTube. Let me answer at least one of them. First question. Farmers, pioneer farmers who received land in 1991, 1992, unfortunately may not register their right with the rights of with the Register of Real Rights. Because there is no information on such land plots in the state land cadastre. I think we can answer this question during the Q&A discussion after the second panel. Question 2, Roman, how we can avoid buying of agricultural land by Russians? Or probably someone else would like to comment. This is the question to Ina, I think. As far as I understand, it's foreigners are not allowed to acquire agricultural land, and this ban will continue into the future. So I think the probability is zero, the probability of buying land by Russians, I mean. Notaries are interested in closely adhering to all rules and regulations. There are many valuable resources we notaries use, and we check each and every employee, each and every buyer, to make sure this is not Russian capital. The Ministry of Justice cancelled almost 140 certificates for notaries who violated the rules and showed signs of violating the procedures. So we're keeping an eye on it, and we are doing our best to make sure it's impossible. Question to Kyiv School of Economics. Do you have any idea how the land market changes if in case of appropriation by the state of agricultural land? I'm not sure we should look into this issue now. You mean appropriation by the government of all agricultural land? Let me comment, colleagues. The question, your answer is right. The government is not interested in seizing any agricultural land. This is a myth. That's why it's only when sellers and buyers are willing to sell and buy, then the land transactions can be concluded. All decisions we make are based on clear evidence collected. I would like to thank the Parliamentary Committee for their input. And contribution. I have a question, Oleg. As an initiator of draft law 3105, I have a question for you. Do you communicate with farmers cultivating up to 500 hectares of land? How do you reach them? I have a couple of questions to the supervisory board and the procedure of setting the board. So, do you already have departments in place? I know that there is primary and secondary legislation for the regulating the activities of the Partial Credit Guarantee Fund. That's what the question from Artem Chernohorov, the deputy. Thank you for this question. We actively communicate with associations and other stakeholders. We've been communicating for some period of time mostly with sectoral associations, farmer associations, the biggest and the most active associations. Can you provide an example of these associations? Well, look, I need to check it up. Clear.
Денис Олександрович, давайте з цього винесемо висновки такі, що нам потрібно раз
Probably together we can foster and streamline those communications. Look, everyone is talking about the land market where land is property, and that's clear. But we have Article 14 of the Constitution, where land is the biggest value of all Ukrainian people. If speakers haven't also mentioned the fertility issue and its impact on land liquidity, and that's very important, and you haven't mentioned it. So, earlier, before the war, we were discussing what may happen to land as the most liquid property. And now we have clear answer. Land contamination can have a severe impact. But the question is, do Mykola Solsky, when talking about the land market opening, said that we need further improvement of the procedures and processes. So my question is, does Ministry have any program, any plan for protection of soil fertility? That is my question. Probably this is the question to the State Geocadastre. Sure, but it's going to be discussed during the next panel. Let me comment, colleagues. Sure, there may be a problem here, and there may be some problems in rational using of leased land, for example. And there should be government control over the proper use of soils. If lessees realize they won't lease this land next year, they are not interested in spreading fertilizers, for example, taking care of this land at all. As for the plan, the program at the ministry level, it's being discussed now, and we have certain development regarding the strategy, in particular how to restore the fertile level of soils damaged and degraded as a result of the war. But we still need some more time to finalize this procedure. Let me thank you for raising this question. As a land management specialist, I confirm that most land protection rules and regulations are declarative rather than imperative. So
його перерівняють децентралізацію, ми собі десь підготували.
soil protection turns out to be not efficient from time to time. And the tools early used for this turned out to be inefficient as well. And the single system that was in place didn't turn out to be success. So the information about the land quality, in our opinion, should be present in the land cadastre along with all other land data. This information should be closely monitored, tracked and monitored by the government to make sure that those who own and use land should be responsible for the soil quality. And also we need some incentives for land users and landowners to make them take care of their land. So we should mention in the state land cadastre not only the acreage but the quality of land. And I would like to thank you for this comment, and we are ready to further work together on this issue, since it an important factor, critical factor that influences the price of land. And also, another thing I would like to mention, we are going through we are facing unprecedented challenges in terms of land contamination. This a new challenge for us, and we need to sit together to develop a clear and transparent mechanism of recording damage of agricultural lands and creating incentives for restoring land fertility. It's high time to work for this. Thank you, Artem, for your question. So I would like to thank all panelists and the Agrarian Committee, the Secretariat, for your cooperation and your efforts. It's an important part of our recovery and reconstruction process. Thank you, colleagues, for your input, and looking forward to further.
Разом з партнерами зміцнювати країну зсередини. Це сміливість бути фермером.
Evgeny Gorovets, First Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine, is invited. Inna Zaporovska, Deputy Head of the Corruption Risk Mitigation and Anti-Corruption Expertise Office of the National Agency on Corruption Prevention. Dmytro Makarenko, Acting Head of the State Service of Ukraine for Geodesy, Cartography and Cadastre. Pelvin Dadasheva, Director of the Financial Stability Department of the National Bank of Ukraine. And Elena Yurchenko, KSE AgriCenter land expert. So we're going to start the second panel on the public monitoring on the land market, why it is important, what challenges we may face, and what we should do to build an effective market. Yevgen, First Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine, is going to speak first. Minister of Justice is responsible for the Register of Rights, for properly documenting and ensuring legality of all those norms. So what are your further expectations regarding challenges? Hello, colleagues. It's great that I have an opportunity to speak at today's meeting. The words of the speech of the Mykola Solsky was success, and he stressed that we do not hear about the land market on a daily basis. And it shows that we do not face any major problems with the agricultural land market. Otherwise, we would have known about them already. I agree with my colleague that the land market model is a big success. We do not see any media public scandals around it. We do not face a big number of complaints. Of course, there are some. We are ready to process all of them, and there are also some cases when, after checking the situation, we make sure that everything was done legally. So we had complaints about, for example, we had complaints about notary work, but eventually we found there was no problem there. Apart from coordinating notary's work, we provide guidance and regulations for the registration system and consider complaints, if any. We didn't have any cases of canceling the transactions and cancel the transfer of the right to land. We had several complaints there was nothing behind them. So the legal mechanism was really successful. As for colleagues' comments during the first panel discussion, yes, I agree that there's a problem of high transaction costs. We have certain tools, and together we can implement together with the lawmaker that can reduce the transaction cost. But we need to discuss such tools before introducing them. First, the cost of transaction itself. It should reflect the monetary value of time and effort spent by notary for certifying the transaction. Now we need to explore why in these or those cases notaries spend different time on certifying land transactions. It depends on how many criteria notaries have to check. At the initial stage, there were much more requirements than we have now. After certain changes were made and certain changes and simplifications were made, in terms of checking spouse, acreage in spouse ownership, the procedure became simpler and it reduced the transaction cost. We may work on this further to refine the procedures to lower the transaction cost. But for this we need analyze big data scenarios as well as properly assess risks to make sure the transactions will be concluded in compliance with all laws and regulations. So there are some requirements that may be less stricter. For example, some economic requirements. So there is some room for improving the procedures and reducing the transaction cost. Another mechanism to make transactions cheaper is process automation, and colleagues have already mentioned that first of all, we need to make sure the data in registers is of high quality. And can be and is easily accessible for those interested. We are working on automating the process, but because of certain financial constraints and the war-related challenges, we see some delays in the process. I agree with colleagues, with the arguments colleagues have mentioned, that can simplify the process. So, and of course, notaries should use official sources of information and such tools as UControl and others may be used as merely supplementary tools. The government, I hope, will create an efficient resource that will be used for pre-transaction check-in and will reduce the cost of transaction. Also, we're working on the single demographic register. We've had discussions with colleagues regarding the formal procedure, and we hope that our IT team will help us to do it technically. After the 1st January 2024, we are going to face additional risks when after legal entities acquire land, their corporate rights will grow, which will create additional opportunities for forcible land, their forcible takeover. So my recommendation to all agribusinesses would be to take all precautions embedded in the law on registration of legal entities. It is a requirement saying that you cannot alienate certain portion of land without a certified deed. So rights should be registered by the notary certifying the deed. It's not so expensive, but it will allow to mitigate the most acute risks. Probably not everyone is aware of this mechanism, but please, colleagues, pay attention.
I would also like to say that a certain degree of good functioning of the system is confirmed by the fact that the by-law acts that we have introduced previously wasn't changed basically since it was introduced. There were only minor technical changes to it. It proves that it was designed properly, because in most cases you cannot create legislation which is next to perfect, and with this respect I'd like to thank people from the ministry who created this good legislative base which stood the test of time. If we see at the second stage of land market, we also may notice that no significant changes to the legislation are required. There are things to be adjusted. For example, the maximum amount of land concentrated by one person needs to be adjusted. But basically, all the mechanisms are in place. We see that the market shows good dynamics, good trends. It is expanded naturally, and it's a good job of all people participating in this. Yes, I would also like to say that in Ukraine we don't have the best in the world model of land rights registration, but nevertheless this model is functional and it covers many issues and it does its jobs. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Justice for your work, for your support to the land market. But a bit later I will have a small question about some other precautions that need to be introduced. It's anti-raider committee, some other, but I will ask this question a bit later when we will move on to this topic. Now I will give the word to Dmytro Makarenko, acting head of the state geocadastre. The question is whether the cadastre is in line with the market requirements, whether it's ready for further development of the market. We all remember that poor cadastre was a reason for many things in the past. So, what's the situation with the cadastre at the times of open market of land? And the second question: when do we expect the start of the monitoring? Who will participate in this? I know that you are doing a big amount of work here. Thanks for your question. Let's start from the beginning. Concerning whether the cadastre is ready or not. Yes, cadastre is 74% completed by today. But cadastre is a live and a dynamic system, and it's constantly changing. Some plots are moved to the archive. We add new land plots after inventory taking, annual inventory taking. Some owners split their land plots. Some owners combine their land plots. So cadastre is functioning for 10 years by today, and I'm sure that it's the most global official information system in Ukraine as of today. Besides, in recent years, the cadastre was working a lot on digital approaches, on electronic services. And most administrative services today are offered in the electronic format, and it's not related to a specific region. It means that an applicant or customer can apply in any region of Ukraine. He just files an application, an electronic application, and his application is processed by any geocadasters that are available for now. For example, if a person files application from Odessa, a geocadastre from Lviv may process his application. I think it improves the quality of services and the efficiency of services. Of course, we do have things to be improved. The cadastre has been here long ago, and it's a very mature system, but nevertheless it needs to be improved and refreshed. Together with our partners, we have finished a kind of technical project on auditing, technical auditing of software used by the cadastre and all its components. And we agreed to launch a new phase of re-engineering the cadastre, where we will focus on the verification and validation of data, shifting to new business ideas, to new business services, and introducing completely new logics of the register. And this is the initiative for the next several years, and we are working actively on this. Now let's move on to the monitoring. I'd like to say that the cadastre is already doing the monitoring of the market, and the results are published on the website. Of course, it's imperfect so far, but one of the most reliable our contractors with whom we are exchanging information is the Ministry of Justice. Now we have good informational interaction between our systems. There is an automatic sharing of information on real estate rights. Also, we get from them the information about the transaction price. We accumulate this information and publish it on the website of our cadastre. And then, speaking about the system of public monitoring of land relation, the decree that was introduced in May this year, and we have some period to complete the implementation of this system. This system is more comprehensive. 9 state bodies participate in this system. This is a more serious system. As of today, the state cadastre is developing general terms of reference, and I think next year we'll start developing software in this respect. Public monitoring of land relations means that basic points should be received from all subjects of electronic interaction. Here we do need to link with Trembita system. We need to implement a user-friendly interface. We will work on this, and we'll see how this monitoring will look like. And I'm sure that with the support of our partners, we are ready to implement this project successfully. Now, concerning the role of the cadastre for the land market and for the new phase of the land market. First of all, we all understand perfectly, and we mentioned it several times today, that cadastre was not available for a certain period of time in the beginning of the war. But it mostly has been recovered by now. We are introducing new services, we are introducing new functions, we are submitting documents, we are working with people, so the dynamics is positive. Recently, we introduced a new function of the cadastre. This is the registration of bulk lands, agricultural lands, land massives. Now people from the cadastre are working on the access to notaries to the information about land concentration by legal entities. I think by the end of the month the notaries will be able to check also the legal entities. Speaking about the market monitoring, our website has some data on land ownership concentration. This data is impersonified. It's in the Excel format. We have lots of tasks. We have ambitious plans, and I'm hoping for the support of our partners and our donors. Thank you very much. I'd like to say that if our experience that we get when working with the market, with the Kyiv School of Economics, we are ready to share this experience with you, with the Ministry of Justice, because it gives us additional publicity of the land market, and it's very important to preserve it. And it also will help prevent any faults, any criminal attempts, because everybody will know that any shadowing will be revealed on further stages, and then that there will be a certain reaction to this. This can be traced by many systems. If somebody wants just to bribe a notary and skip some checks, the system will prevent such attempts, and on future stages it will all be identified and provided. My next question is to Inna Zaporovska from the National Anti-Corruption Agency. We know that recently a law has been adopted about the anti-corruption program. So are you satisfied with the progress of this anti-corruption program in the land sphere? Thanks for your question. My greetings to all the participants of this event. Thank you for your invitation. I'd like to start with the following. Many people think that anti-corruption agency is about declarations. But my task today is to inform you about some efficient tools that we are using for corruption prevention. And in the end, I will suggest you a kind of joint work cooperation in order to prevent the corruption risks. The first tool developed by our agency, according to the anti-corruption law, we can analyze specific areas for specific corruption risks. The positive thing here is that we suggest efficient recommendations and advice to specific agencies in order to improve the situation. We did a specific research on the land corruption. We found 30 corruption risks here and the ways to overcome these risks. You can find this research on our website. It has also been submitted to the relevant state authorities that can impact the implementation of our recommendations in this research. In autumn this year, we even evaluated the status of implementation of these recommendations. We can say that 63% of our recommendations were implemented. Concerning the remaining recommendations, there is a task from the Prime Minister to implement them. The state anti-corruption program, it covers the problematic issues that we revealed in the land relations area. I will say it once again that the state anti-corruption program, it aggregates the problematic issues in different spheres, defines specific strategic results that we want to achieve, and also defines specific tools and procedures that need to be implemented in order to reach the goals. So we do the monitoring of the procedures contained in the anti-corruption program. Of course, we see some drawbacks here. We try to incentivize the relevant authorities so that they could be more efficient in implementation, and we expect a certain positive dynamics, a positive trend here. Concerning the monitoring, I would like to tell you about one unique and efficient product that we are using in monitoring. We have developed an informational system for monitoring the state anti-corruption program. You can find it on the website of our national agency. This information system is a dynamic system. Quarterly, there is a progress check and updated information. Speaking about the algorithm and the procedure of the monitoring, the body that executes the monitoring sends a text message to our agency describing the current progress with implementation. Also, they can add some references and confirmations of their work. They can attach electronic files. The submitted information is evaluated by the expert of our national agency. If required, we communicate with the executive bodies. After monitoring, define a specific category that reflects the current status of implementation, whether it's in progress, whether it's implemented. And after the monitoring period is over, the information is introduced to the publicly available part of the informational monitoring system. So anyone can read the results, read this information. But in fact, if we speak about monitoring, I would like to suggest a rather unique function of this system. The system can collect feedback from the community, from people. So any person, after a proper authentication, the system can provide his or her own feedback about the implementation, about the procedures. So even in monitoring, we offer involving people, we offer involvement of experts, because you are perfectly aware about the problems in each of the spheres. And we, in our turn, do have the legal tools, legal instruments that can be applied. So in this part, we're open, and we invite you to participate in the monitoring of the anti-corruption policy status. Also, I have one more interesting information. This information can be useful for experts from the public sector. And I, as a person working with anti-corruption expertise and corruption risks minimization, I would like to introduce this function to you and invite you to participate in it. I'm speaking about the anti-corruption expertise of legal instruments. The anti-corruption program mostly is implemented through legislative acts. According to the Ukrainian anti-corruption law, the anti-corruption committee must hold a compulsory expertise of all laws and draft laws to be considered by the legislative bodies of Ukraine. I'd like to share with you some analytical data. Starting from the beginning of this year, we've monitored more than 3,000 draft laws and regulations. More than 100 of them were subjected to the anti-corruption expertise, and there are certain conclusions from this expertise. They are open to the public. We suggest our specific recommendations about eliminating the breaches. This year we had about 400 such recommendations, and we can say that 97% of these recommendations are taken into account by the authors of, by the developers of laws and laws instruments. So the communication between us and the state power agency is quite efficient. But the law of anti-corruption also envisages that the people have the right to participate in the anti-corruption activities. So I suggest that you be more active in this, because you know the problems in each of the spheres. You are doing the public anti-corruption expertise projects. We know this for sure because we are in a communication with several public agencies. So feel free to contact us for prevention of potential corruption, for potential corruptional schemes in the laws, in draft laws. And our agency is helping people to do their anti-corruption expertise. Last week, we published our recommendations about developing laws without corruption things. We are describing there the anti-corruption expertise. We are stressing the typical corruption risks that were revealed previously in legislation, and we provide our recommendations how to make laws, how to prepare and develop them. And also, I'd like to address people from the ministries and draw their attention to the fact that on the need of keeping with the state anti-corruption schedule. We invite people to cooperate with us. We are transparent, we are open, and by the end of my speech, I would like to remind our mission, the mission of our anti-corruption agency. We would like to see a fair community, fair state here, and our expertise can help create legislation without corruption. And the authorities should use these tools to build a fair country, a fair society. So let's join our efforts and move to our ambitious goal. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to say that we're also participating. We do make our own conclusions. We give recommendations to the committees. In most cases, we have similar positions, because basically the problem of corruption and its negative impact upon economy and upon agriculture, it's just a common problem. It impacts everybody. It's just a pure evil. I would like to say that within our project as USAID Agro, we do the annual questionnaire on corruption in the land market. We are doing it regularly. Our biggest result is that we have we have significant reduction in corruption risks in the state geocadastre. And this is due to the legislative changes, and Denis Bashlik mentioned this today, and many experts are here working with this issue. We are very thankful to them, and we will cooperate with them, with you. My question is, how exactly you incentivize the state bodies to implement the anti-corruption program? Well, it's communication, it's interaction. We do have some meetings and workshops. If there is some project on developing a law, a draft law, we can participate there as an anti-expertise agency. We can suggest efficient recommendations how the law can be efficient in public relations, in regulating public relations, in regulating land relations. So there are lots of opportunities and we are trying to do our best to implement them. And then we'll continue about the opportunities. Now I'll give the word to Pravin Dadashova, Director of the Financial Stability Department, International Bank of Ukraine. So the question is, what is the system? What are the opportunities for agrarians? I mean, the opportunities for new loans starting from the 1st of January. What are the expectations of the National Bank? Hello, everybody. I'll start from the general topic of loans for agri-sector. Today, the portfolio of agri-sector loans is much bigger in banks compared to the situation several years ago. In general, we issued about $90 billion of loans to agrarians. It's about 1/3 of the total loan portfolio. It's quite a huge amount. Mostly, these loans were issued after the full-scale invasion, and it's just a miracle when the loans portfolio started to get bigger, because agrarians needed financial resources, and the banks were there to help and to finance their needs. And we had here state support. There was 579 state program, which was for a seeding campaign that season. And that was a boom in the agrarian loan, and it was a pure miracle, because nobody understood how banks could issue loans in the first weeks of war, when nobody understood nothing. So agri-sector is about 1/3 of the loan portfolio. It's quite a big amount. And the next question is what we're going to do next. These loans were issued in the framework of some state support programs. These programs offer a lower interest rate. It's much lower than the average loan rate, commercial loan rate. And these loans that were issued during the full-scale war, they were mostly guaranteed by the state. So the state guaranteed to the banks that the money will be returned, even if the farmer will not be able to pay back his money. So the combination of these two factors, a low interest rate and the guarantee from the state, facilitated the loaning process. We managed to involve smaller size farmers in this program. 579 program is being changed now. It will not continue working on the same terms. Today, we don't see 0% rates that were quite popular in the beginning of the war. Now the interest rate is higher. It can be quite high if it's for the circulation fund, not for the capital funds. But still, agrarians can use the loans. They can attract funds, but of course the terms and conditions are quite different, and we are moving toward the commercial credit interest rates. It's very important that now the banks and agrarians do have some good cooperation, because agrarian sector and expertise in the agrarian sector is quite a difficult thing for a bank. It requires a certain work from the banks. During these 2 years, we managed to form this expertise, and more or less we now know how to work with agrarians. Speaking about further development of the land reform, the process is going to be more active. When we speak about land in crediting purposes, it's first of all it's pledge for issuing new loans. For a bank, the pledge is a guarantee that if an agrarian faces some problems, the bank can recover the issued funds and compensate the losses that it could face. Of course, the bank may not be the owner of the land, because the legislation does have some tools to prevent banks from being owners of lands. And there are lots of things to be considered. First of all, it's the coefficient of liquidity. Bank evaluates many things when making a decision about issuing a loan for a farmer, so that the bank could be sure that they can avoid losses in any situations. There are several things to be considered. First of all, it's the actual opportunity to take the property from non-payers of loans. We need some legal tools that allow banks to work with those who are in debts, so that this process is facilitated. Now we do have some mechanism about this. At least in theory, it should cover such problems. Fortunately, we don't have lots of bankruptcy cases where land is the pledge. But the banks have no major complaints about land as a pledge, so it means that it works more or less all right. The second aspect is the speed of selling the land that is held by the bank from non-payers. We see that the market is developing. We see that the market is going to be expanded. Actually, there are no cases where banks were trying to sell their pledged land. But in general, we are now analyzing the market in order to understand whether the banks will be able to sell the land. And of course, the price of the land to be sold is also important for the banks. We, as a regulator, we're trying to establish some realistic liquidity ratio for pledging land by the banks. Of course, the banks make decisions on their own, but this ratio does some influence upon the process of pledging land in the banks. The question is, what are the risks for the bank? Will the bank be able to sell this land to compensate the potential losses? So here we as a national bank offer this liquidity ratio. We have managed to find the ways to review and amend this liquidity factor. This will allow using land for pledging bigger credits. Of course, now we don't speak about the most efficient types of liquidity instruments like a state guarantee. But basically, we have managed to found a formula which is acceptable for us and for the agrarian ministry, and I hope that this will help, this will facilitate the process. Also, we are now working on the guarantees for the partial credit guarantee fund. This will allow farmers to raise loans with the participation of this partial guarantee fund. It will give them more opportunities. And one thing I'd like to say that land is, first of all, a pledge for the banks. I mentioned the liquidity ratio, but there is one more component to this. If there is a pledged loan, this loan will be cheaper for the farmer. And I think that the market of land will be developing, so the basis for pledge will be increased, and this will facilitate cheaper loans for farmers. And also, I'd like to mention that transparency and openness of data is very important for us, because as I already mentioned, we need the availability of information, and all the banks need the availability of information. I mean, the registers about right of ownership, data on land's fertility, in order to properly estimate the price of the land that they take as a pledge. So it's important thing for us to calculate everything and to evaluate everything. It's just a very important thing for market development.
Thank you very much for this good news that you are going to revisit the liquidity coefficient. 35% is quite a small percentage, so we are looking for good news from you, right? Probably in January we'll have initial results, new loans with new liquidity coefficients. And also good news that you are working together with the Credit Guarantee Fund to get coverage for loans, because the loans are crucial for agribusinesses from the occupied territories. They desperately need loans for restoring, rebuilding their businesses. And they are the most vulnerable group in terms of getting financing, being located in the occupied territories. So what should micro and small agricultural businesses expect? I mean, those businesses located in the occupied territories. Apart from liquidity coefficients, nothing is going to change. We have parallel streams. Credit Guarantee Fund is going to start operations in the first quarter 2024. They are developing sample agreements right now, some other mechanisms. I don't think we will see major changes in January, but in the first quarter of the next year, we can see some. As for the products they are going to offer, this is then our competence. I know they have some interesting offers for smallholders to close the available gaps. It's more, probably they can answer it better. So we actively cooperate well with other stakeholders to have best offers for businesses in the deoccupied areas. We also engage colleagues from Entrepreneurship Development Fund under the aegis of the Ministry of Finance. And right now, I'm aware that certain improvement to the affordable loans at 579 program are being discussed to streamline agricultural lending for the war-affected areas. We need to evaluate the specific needs of the affected businesses to be able to develop tailor-made products for them. Thank you, Pervin, for the information provided. I would like to ask Alina for her to, as a land expert, comment on the value for land monitoring for agribusinesses, how agribusinesses will benefit for it as a source of information, valuable information. Thank you, Sergey, for your question. Each and every farmer uses some monitoring tools and platforms. We at Kyiv School of Economics analyze public data from the official website of the State Geocadastre. However, we understand that some information, for example, land purchase price may differ across Ukraine greatly. For example, Vinnytsia, Poltava, and Khmelnytsk oblasts have actual prices higher than the official prices. And also the price varies depending on the soil fertility and some other criteria. Also, land market transparency is another important factor. Ina mentions that we should talk to land owners to explain them the contents of the land transaction. And also we have agents acting on behalf of landowners who can introduce strict requirements into agreements, some penalties. And also some additional restrictions associated with the transaction cost. And then the agents may eventually end up selling land plots at prices twice as higher as initial prices. That's why we need to improve transparency of the land market to reduce these fraudulent schemes, to make land transactions beneficial both for land buyers and land sellers. The same applies to transfer of the preemptive right to buy land. As for land monitoring, we also need to closely monitor land lease rates. It's difficult right now to determine the exact amount. As for communal land, that's more or less clear. Minimum liability tax put made the situation simpler. So the information on their minimum liability tax is public information, and it's publicly disclosed. So it's mentioned in the reports. So public companies do not overstate lease rentals because they have then paid taxes, but there are small holders who pay some portion of land lease rentals unofficially. It happens because landowners are also interested in receiving some portion of the land lease payment unofficially, and will have to pay lower taxes. So I hope we'll be further working on improving the transparency of the land market and improving the land monitoring process to better understand the specifics of the land market and make sure all market participants act in good faith while exercising their constitutional right to land. Despite certain restrictions that will be in place. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. I have two questions, colleagues. Dmitro, question regarding registration of land plots from 1992. As far as I understand, those are some specific cases in one of the oblasts, so it's not a common problem for the market. So I think I would recommend I would ask to contact me by email. I'll ask the applicant to describe the situation in detail for us to to be able to dive deeper into the issue and process it and provide a reply. So after we have a formal application, we can assess whether any illegal actions were taken in this respect. Yeah, I agree. The state geocadastre is not responsible for rights register. It is the real rights register that does it. Yeah, we have certain applications Sergey has just mentioned. The list of real rights that's subject to registration is exhaustive. Of course, it can be supplemented or narrowed, but we need to additionally make additional assessment to understand whether we need to make changes to the register. For this, we need the opinion of the Ministry of Agrarian Policy and Food. Probably we need input from parliamentary members. Okay, thank you, colleagues. And one more question regarding possible land takeover. We are keeping close eye on it, and colleagues do the same. Earlier, the problem was acute. Has it changed? Has the situation changed? The market is showing positive trend in terms of violations and corrective interventions. We would like to thank the Parliament for adopting in summer 2022 of the law on counteracting raiding. Another actionable mechanism is introduction of the changes regarding early termination of the land-lease agreement. That's a common problem for the market. When the owner of the legal entity terminate land-lease agreements to free land for artificially free land for other legal entities. So precautions, legal precautions have been taken to prevent it from happening. Of course, there are certain cases when people not acting in good faith, trying to find any loopholes. But the situation more or less has changed. And if we're talking about notary deeds, then those whose rights are violated should go to court. But it doesn't happen very often, so that's not a typical problem. Sure, we won't have zero level of violations. There will still be people acting in bad faith. But we've made good progress in combating raiding. You remember in 2019, 2020, we have thousands of complaints from citizens. When you have a clear procedure, clear mechanism to prevent raiding, it gives good results. And those who were acting in bad faith eventually lose their investment. So, from time to time, we still step in to make certain corrective interventions, but we don't see any major problems in this area. And we hope that the market will continue to show positive trends in the future. And thank you very much for your answer. And also we have some questions from... I have a question to Yevgen regarding legal entities who will be allowed to buy agricultural land next year. Our minister is working on additional tools to monitor the circulation of stakes in the capital of legal entities. So it's not always that stakes are alienated. They may be inherited in other jurisdictions, not Ukrainian jurisdiction. So it may happen that there may be one share in the stock owned by a foreigner. So probably some corrective actions should be made to simplify this procedure and make it more transparent. Yeah, good question. I know about the problem. The regulation that forbids alienation of stakes needs to be amended, and I understand why lawmakers did it. It would be good to have systems communicating with each other and changing information with each other. But today it looks like it creates problems for the buyer. When a buyer wants to acquire a stake in a legal entity, they need to carry out due diligence. And the checklist for performing this due diligence is going to be supplemented. in January. Let me also remind you that any person can obtain information from the State Register of Real Rights to make sure that no violations are made in this respect. And also the legal check can be made by the legal team. Unfortunately, it may entail additional transaction costs. But circulation of stakes in working capital is quite simple. And the notary's task here is merely to certify the signature. We can say that in case we have certification by notaries, then we'll be able to ask notaries check this issue. The software that could automate the process is quite expensive and time-consuming. But we are working on it. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. It's high time to call it a day. Thank you very much, dear participants, for your contribution to the success of this event. The market is functioning well. The market model is a big success. We don't see any major problems with mass land buyouts. We still need some facilitate access of agricultural businesses to financing. And we see more and more needs for further developing of the land market. And we are going to cooperate and coordinate with other stakeholders to drive this process. Thank you, colleagues, and let's work further for victory and for Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
Дякую.